A growing number of Canadian companies are expanding into foreign markets to tap into their natural resources. But in many cases, they're facing stiff opposition from locals. Colombia is one of those countries. Workers there claim they've been threatened with violence for trying to unionize. And as Jeremy Hunker reports from Colombia, a Canadian oil company is now defending its reputation.
Armed bodyguards may be the best defense if traveling on union business in some parts of Colombia. Bulletproof vests and bulletproof windows don't hurt either. Of course I'm scared, says Campo Elias Ortiz, for my mother, my family, and my daughter. Campo says he's been crusading for workers' rights for years, and in Colombia that's earned him criminal accusations ranging from damaging property to terrorism. But perhaps more serious, Campo says he was threatened with death after trying to unionize laborers for a Canadian company. They told me you're going to die, he says, if you continue with the union. We know who you are, we know your family, and who you work with. Campo says he's unsure who was behind the alleged threat, but he was fighting to unionize workers of Canada-based Pacific Rubiales Energy. There's no indication the oil giant had any involvement in the alleged threat, and it denies any anti-union activity. But it's a company used to protests in Colombia, and now facing serious accusations. The labor union USO filing a criminal complaint in Bogota, alleging union busting, even blacklisting of some workers. Union officials say employees have been forced to sever ties with their union in order to get work, and say roads have been blocked and checkpoints used to keep their delegations away. We feel like we're fighting against a monster, says the union's president. No formal charges have yet been laid. Colombian authorities will now investigate. But back in Toronto, Pacific Rubiales denies any wrongdoing.
That's just patently absurd. You know, there's no way our company would involve themselves in any threats or physical violence with any worker.
Peter Volk says the company in no way discriminates against any labor group, suggesting USO is using the allegations as a tactic to gain support. In fact, the company says more than 1,100 employees are part of a different union, adding that Pacific Rubiales is investing millions of dollars in Colombia for things like development and education for locals.
We don't engage in strong-arming. We don't engage in attacking people, workers, anyone. Again, we're trying to build community.
But allegations against Canadian companies don't end with Pacific Rubiales. Colombian Aboriginal leaders say elsewhere, massive Canadian mining projects are developed without proper consultation, displacing people sometimes amidst an ongoing armed conflict. So yes, we're upset, says Patricia Tobon, that the wealth being accumulated in Canada is coming directly from the violation of rights of Colombia's Indigenous. They're embarrassing allegations, according to Canadian NGOs like PASC, who say a host of Canadian megacorporations are getting rich, but at a cost.
Canadians need to know about what's happening with their companies overseas because it's generating a great deal of conflict and misery for a lot of people.
And it's not just PASC sounding the alarm, but a number of other Canadian organizations urging the government to ensure Canadian companies operating abroad are following the same rules they would at home. In Medellin, Colombia, Jeremy Hunker, Global News.